I have the privilege of introducing our Master of Ceremonies. Mr. RiShawn Biddle is the editor and publisher of Dropout Nation, the leading online publication covering and editorializing on education and the nation's school reform movement. Co-author of A Bite at the Apple, Rethinking Education Data for the Post-No Child Left Behind era. He combines journalism, research, and advocacy to bring insight on the nation's education crisis and rally families and others to reform American public education. Before founding Dropout Nation, Mr. Biddle was an editorial writer for the Indianapolis Star, covering education and urban affairs. There, he wrote and oversaw 3 award-winning special projects revealing the depths of the nation's dropout crisis and exposing judicial abuse against alleged juvenile offenders. Before becoming a tireless editorialist for school reform, Mr. Biddle was a reporter for such publications as Forbes. An accomplished public speaker, he has spoken at conferences sponsored by such organizations as the, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, Hetchinger Institute on Education and the Media, Reason Foundation, and the National Conference of Editorial Writers. A commentator on radio and television, Mr. Biddle has also appeared on such shows as Marketplace and Mid-Morning with Carrie Miller. A columnist covering education and urban affairs for the American Spectator, this New York City native, who now lives with his lovely wife, Davina, in Alexandria, Virginia, has also written for such publications as the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Television Week, National Review, and the Los Angeles Daily News. He has also served as a speechwriter for education advocates such as actress Tashina Arnold.
That's right, exactly. Thanks, Gwen. I gotta tell you something. Now, I have never, I'm a tenacious human being. I don't seem that way, but, you know, ask a few folks who actually have been on the wrong side of it, so that's a whole different discussion. But I have never met someone as tenacious as your president. I gotta tell you, I mean, she cornered me at the Education Trust Gala. I was like, I'm talking to Ellen Wynn, who's right over here from the Education Equality Project, who's doing some great work. Let's give her some applause as well. And I gotta tell you, I mean, Gwen just said, I gotta get you for a speech. I gotta get you to come down here for our Building Blocks of Educational Excellence event. I'm going, okay, sure, because you know, I hear this 99.9, and I'm like, okay, you know, 1% of the time things actually do happen. I was like, okay, if it happens, that's great. I look at my email box on Saturday morning. This is a Thursday. The Thursday I meet up. Saturday morning, I'm sitting here looking at my email box. Now that's tenacity. And I gotta tell you, I talk about this concept called parent power. Didn't originate with me. I gotta give credit to Howard Fuller, who in Milwaukee did some real parent power work. But when I heard that Connecticut was putting together, I was surprised it happened in California, which is like, well, thanks Gloria Romero, you know, I give her credit for that. But when you got it done, when you guys get stuff done, you guys get stuff done. So give yourself a round of applause. Because I gotta tell you right here, and I gotta tell you right now, parents, I am the son of a single mother. Of course, I also happen to be the grandson of two great grandparents who did great things. And so my mother didn't work alone. But I gotta tell you, I was a handful as a kid. Oh, and believe me, if I went through my whole story, you'd be going, well, why are you standing here? I gotta tell you, my mother had a hard time navigating through the public education system in New York City. And I was a public ed student in New York City back when there were guys named Quinones and Alvarado running the show. Before there was a Joe Klein, before there was even a Giuliani, back when New York, when there was a whole bunch, when riding the subway was an actual adventure, and not for any good reason. And so parents out there have a hard time negotiating this system. And I gotta tell you, any tool that you can put in the hands of parents, in the hands of caregivers, in the hands of grandparents, to go out there and make change, I'm going to tell you, that's important. That is the next step towards actually making things happen. Because we need a revolution, not an evolution, in American public education. But I'm going to tell you tonight, you're going to hear from some great speakers. I'm just letting you know. Now, of course, one of them I worked for, Byron Garrett right over here. I got to tell you, by the time this night is over, you're going to be out there, you're going to be sitting down saying, listen, we got to go and give our kids real education, real schools where all kids can learn, where their genius, their internal genius, their capacity to do great things is recognized and nurtured. And you're going to do that tonight, I got to tell you. And of course, besides the fact that I'm just sort of like, honestly, a geek. Geek with numbers, geek with everything else. But I make this clear, this is not academic. Every time I think about why I'm so passionate about reforming education in this country, I think about my long-departed grandmother. Back in the middle of the Great Depression, 1932. And it wasn't because my great-grandparents didn't care, my nana didn't care. They cared. They put so much effort into raising my grandmother and raising her dying today. My great-grandfather barely could spell his own name. No, you can't ask parents to teach kids how to read when they barely know how to read themselves. My grandmother got lucky. My grandmother had a teacher who gave a cake. She worked with my grandmother from day in, day out, and got her not only to reach her potential, reach her genius. Not only by the end of the school year, my grandmother was reading at grade level, she was reading above grade level. If not for this caring, highly talented, highly qualified teacher, my grandmother would have never made it. She would have never gone to Wilberforce University. She would have never started a career. She would have never started a family. There wouldn't be my mother. There wouldn't be me. The value of education was so put in that my mother had me at 16 years of age, went back to high school, went to college when I went to college. The same year that I got into college, she was in college. The woman has a master's and now working on her doctorate. I think about that and I think about how lucky she was. She was lucky. Because she could have easily had a teacher that didn't care, or a teacher that may have cared but didn't know what to do. Didn't know how to teach, could not do the job. And back then it didn't matter, in all due honesty, whether you had a high quality education because, hey, you dropped out of school, you get a factory job, you can do anything. You could at some point make a nice life for yourself. We didn't know how to measure the quality of teaching. We didn't know how to measure the quality of schools. We didn't know how to measure the quality of anything in education. But I gotta tell you, that world has changed. We can measure with accuracy, with more than enough accuracy, the quality of teaching. We know what works in terms of a high quality curriculum. Perfect? No, but we do know. We know the importance of high quality teachers. And yet, once again, we live in a country where the chances of getting a high quality education are as haphazard now as it was in 1932. And if that doesn't anger you, if that doesn't make you want to grab something and just throw it down and say, what education, what are going on here? 1 in 2. That's 1 out of every 2 boys and girls unable to read or comprehend simple sentences. We know that just 1 out of every 100 Black and Latino males and females in high school, in their senior year of high school, read at advanced levels. So they can't succeed. And we know where they're going to go when they cannot succeed in school. They will fall into prison, they will drown in poverty, and they will be denied the opportunity for happiness. And so whenever I hear all this talk this week about Sputnik moments, waiting for Superman moments, and gut check times, all I gotta say is, the moment is now. We need a revolution, not an evolution, in American public education. And it is as true in Hartford, in Bridgeport, and Stamford, as it is in Detroit, in Orange County, and in Liberty, New York.